today we're checking out the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus. We already checked out the Ultra version, so I'm kind of curious how this one compares. I also got the book cover keyboard slim. I believe that was half off with the purchase of the S10 Plus. You'll also notice it's going to use the same accessories as the S9 Plus and the S9 FE Plus. You've got the same color options as the Ultra, Moonstone Gray, or the one shown here is called Platinum Silver. As far as the specs go, it's going to be very similar to the Tab S10 Ultra, but with a slightly smaller 12.4 inch display. But just know this is going to feel quite a bit larger compared to the other 10 or 11 inch tablets, but it's got a 12.4 inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display, up to 120 Hz refresh rate, 2800 by 1752 resolution. It also has the same MediaTek Dimensity 9300 Plus processor. It's got a 10,090 milliamp hour battery. You only get 12 gigabytes of RAM with this one, with 256 or 512 gigabytes of storage. Or on the Ultra, you can go up to 16 gigabytes of RAM with 1 terabyte of storage. This one also takes a micro SD card up to 1.5 terabytes. Kind of strange how the Ultra gets Wi-Fi 7, but this one only gets Wi-Fi 6E. For me, I don't really notice a huge difference in Wi-Fi speeds between those two. Just kind of weird that they're different. Kind of an off-white color there for the S Pen. If you go with the Moonstone color, it's sort of a light gray. USB-C to USB-C charging cable. Micro SD card removal tool. Quick start guide, terms and conditions. Luckily, the little sticker is pretty easy to get off the back. Really nice aluminum material here on the back. You can see the logo and where the S Pen goes. It has a matte white finish. This is definitely a little cleaner look, I think, than the Moonstone Gray. You can see the two cameras and flash there up in the corner. These little plastic pieces on the edges, probably could leave those on for extra protection. I think we'll just take those off. You get your micro SD card tray there on the side. They're on the same side as the buttons. Pogo pins for your keyboard or book cover. This tablet is super thin. I kind of wish my cell phone was this thin, but then again, the battery would probably be quite a bit smaller. You've got your two speakers on each side, charging port on the bottom. Overall, just a really nice clean design to it. I did notice it's a hair thinner than the S9 FE Plus, although it's just a hair, so I think you're still going to be able to use most of the same accessories. Then pretty much identical to the S9 Plus. The S Pen looks like the same color. The aluminum color is just a little bit more silver on the new S10 Plus, where the S9 Plus is a little bit closer to tan, almost the same as the S Pen. You can see the bezels are pretty much the same as the Tab S9 Plus. Just like the Ultra, when setting up, you've got face unlock, fingerprint, PIN, password, and pattern, and the fingerprint scanners on the front, similar to the Ultra as well. Also, sort of personal preference, but just like on the Ultra, you've got auto blocker, which is going to block you from installing apps like Fortnite or other apps that aren't available in the Play Store. I believe you can change that later in the settings, but just something to keep in mind as you're setting this up. Looks like the same wallpaper as the Ultra, just a different color, depending on which color of tablet you go with. I also feel like you don't really lose out on much by going with the Plus version over the Ultra. You're still getting a nice and large screen. It's got good contrast, nice and dark blacks. I know it's kind of personal preference. The screen quality on Samsung tablets are some of the nicest out there, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of streaming, movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. Software wise, looks almost identical to the Ultra. This is on Android 14, One UI 6.1.1 right out of the box, which is the same as the S10 Ultra. Looks like it's using about 11% of the 256 gigabytes of storage. You've also got motion smoothness on here. You might want to consider standard if you want better battery life, but since it's on adaptive by default, I'll just leave it there. It also looks like you have the same apps as the Ultra. They do install a couple extras as far as pre-installed apps like Netflix, Peacock, most of your typical ones from Samsung, a few from Microsoft. Nice thing is they give you the option to uninstall those if you don't think you'll be using them. You've got a lot of your typical stuff up in the notification shade like Dolby Atmos, airplane mode. This one also has Samsung DeX, which I've mentioned before. I'm not really a big fan of the new Samsung DeX. Good thing is you can go into the settings and switch it over to classic, which I feel like is a little more useful instead of just having everything in floating windows. Just like the Ultra, you've got video out on here, so you can connect this to an HDMI adapter to use on a projector, TV, or external monitor, which again, I feel like is a must-have on all tablets. You've also got Google Discover or Samsung Free left of the home screen. I gotta say, I don't really use Samsung Free too often. And then of course, like most other Samsung tablets, it's real easy to do multitasking, where you can just tap and drag apps to either side or to the bottom. You've also got the taskbar down at the bottom to easily switch back and forth between apps. Definitely comes in handy on a larger tablet like this. The S Pen is easily one of the best ways to draw, take notes, or just move around the software, so I'm glad they're still including that with the tablet. You'll also notice if you look at the benchmark results, it's a nice improvement over the Galaxy Tab S9 Plus in single and multi-core scores and in GPU score as well. So of course you can play games like PUBG Mobile and Asphalt Legends, or pretty much any other game on the Play Store. It's just going to be really nice to play on a larger screen like this. I always like to use an Xbox controller, but of course you can use any Bluetooth controller. Plus it's a little easier to reach things on this screen compared to the S10 Ultra. Battery life on here is pretty similar to the Galaxy Tab S9 Plus, lasting about 7 hours in my typical battery drain test at 100% screen brightness. Keep in mind though, that's a more extreme use scenario because you can probably get about double that if you turn the screen brightness down to about halfway or lower. I feel like the quality of the book cover keyboard slim is pretty nice, like you would expect from Samsung. It does feel a little bit overpriced in my opinion though. Considering you don't have the trackpad, again that's going to be personal preference. This is a nice option though if you just need to type some stuff out. Also keep in mind, you can use most of the same accessories as the Tab S9 Plus and the S9 FE Plus, so that should give you some more options as well. You got 2 speakers on each side with Dolby Atmos. If you haven't used a Samsung tablet within the last couple years, I feel like they've improved the sound from what I thought was already good sounding speakers. And that's the case with this one. It's nice and loud with pretty good clarity. Because tablets are pretty thin, you don't get a lot of bass, but they sound nice and loud overall. Here's a quick sample just to give you an idea of what it sounds like compared to the S9 Plus. As far as the cameras go, you've got a 12 megapixel ultra wide on the front. You've got 2 cameras on the back, 13 megapixel and an 8 megapixel ultra wide. In the camera app, you've got portrait, photo, video. Under more, you have pro video, single take, night, food, panorama, hyperlapse, and portrait video. You can shoot up to 4K 30 frames per second for video recording. Now the cameras on here won't compete against flagship phones, but they're still pretty good for a tablet in my opinion, especially if you have good lighting like here in my studio. But here's a few quick samples just to give you an idea of what to expect on the new S10 Plus. Overall, I feel like this is a pretty minimal update over the S9 Plus. I feel like some people might want to upgrade from the S8 Plus. If you had the S7 Plus, this would be a nice upgrade since you're running out of software updates, especially in performance. As you can see from these samples, kind of what you would expect from this tablet. It's actually fairly similar to the Tab S9 Plus, maybe even the S8 Plus as well. I plan on doing several comparisons with this tablet, hopefully this coming week. So if you like tablets, phones, and other tech, I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on. So keep an eye out for those upcoming videos.
So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.